if I had a chance to ask you what words, what phrase, what image that touched you or struck you the most in the gospel today, maybe you have a few. The one that struck me the most is, the Lord is with you. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with you. Whenever I say that as a priest to you in a Mass, and I do that 3 times, in the beginning, before the Gospel proclamation, and before the Mass is ended. Just to let you know, and we know that during Mass, we are reminded that God is with us. A lot of times we don't feel it. A lot of times we so worry about life that we don't even have time to think about it. And so when the priest said the Lord will be with you, it's just like another formula that we just go back and forth. But what if that greeting becomes reality? And that is what I'm trying to say here today. The angel Gabriel came and said, the Lord is with you. And it became reality in her womb. And you said, no, Father, that's the beginning, before she conceived. Before or after or during, the Lord is with her. So my question here is, how do you feel? How do you live your life when God is with you? Because it's not a feeling anymore. It's not emotion. It's not sentiment anymore. It's reality. And the reality when God is with us, I believe that we have no fears. We have nothing else to worry. It's not just we become innocent child of God that we don't worry about anything. We have no fears. No fears. No fears. We don't need anything else, if you will. Everything else becomes secondary. Everything else becomes almost unnecessary. Only God is necessary in our life. But how can we have God in our life? That is the question. Because a lot of time we walk alone. A lot of time we feel fearful. A lot of time we feel empty. A lot of time we feel angry. A lot of time we feel urging to do something right away. And when we don't have God, this is the consequences. We become not just hopeless, but we can make a lot of mistakes. I'm saying from my own personal experience, preaching to you or with you right now, maybe it's easy. But when you don't have God with you, it dry like rock. You don't feel anything. And the person who in front of you, they have no idea what you're talking about either. There's no cohesiveness. There is no relationship. There is no connectedness. There is no sense. There is no meaning. And that's the consequences of without God in our life. When we have no God, we walk, but it's like a zombie, dead body walking. And we have a lot of people in our world today walking like zombies because they don't believe in God or because they don't have that connection with God. They don't know, like John just said, they don't know how to pray. We need to teach them how to pray. And so today, we need God in our life. I put in my reflection today, if you receive it, how to have God with us by doing God's will. And maybe you say, doing God's will. What is God's will? For me, God's will is my will minus my ego. A lot of times our ego bigger than our size of our body. Our ego is so big that we don't see any God in us. And God's will for us is very simple. I believe only 3 things that God always wants us to do. First, to receive God's grace. Open ourselves to receive God's grace. And God's grace is free. It's just a matter of we open and humbly enough to say, God, I need you. God, come to me. God, be with me. God, lead me. God, bless me. I need you. And the second thing that God wants us to do is to share the goodness that God has given us, which is God's grace, with others. Don't just receive and keep it for ourselves. Share God's grace after we receive it. And the third one, very practical. You say, I don't know what you're talking about. The third one that God wants us to do is to love one another as ourselves. Very simple. Very simple. And so today, if you want to have God with you, 3 things. Open ourselves, ask God to be with us. When I bless you with that Eucharist benediction, you say, God, come with us. Come to me and be with me. God, embrace me and protect me. God, lead me and bless me. It's just so simple and so practical. And so I wish that each one of us today, as we celebrate the Annunciation, God is with us.